Cool. Um, now, so we're currently live, you guys. So if you guys haven't heard, today Trump was indicted by the Manhattan grand jury, and this just happened today in New York. And this is in regards to hush money that he sent to porn star and actress Stormy Daniels. Um, Before, I believe it was before he became the president. It was an extramarital affair because he was already married at the time. So he was trying to silence her, and today he got indicted for that. So the Manhattan grand jury has decided to press charges, and he's also um, he might have more charges as well for taking documents out of the national treasury and storing them in his Mar-a-Lago home, and then interfering with the Georgia election as well. Although we have not heard of any other indictments. But yeah. So do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Jamie, do you want to go first? Do you want to go ahead and unmute? Well,
Unmute button's in the left corner.
yeah.
The controls weren't showing up. I apologize.
You want to introduce yourself and then like just give us, you can give us like a brief opinion about it or whatever.
My name is Jamie. I am a freelance photojournalist and activist in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I have to say, I'm not completely surprised, but I'm so just absolutely relieved. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Understand that.
I apologize. I don't have a really good on-air personality. That's why I do photojournalism.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Well, we can come back to if you do you have anything else you want to say, or because we can come back. All right. We'll just do that. Okay, Angela, would you like to introduce yourself and then give us a brief opinion about Trump being indicted?
Sure.
All right.
I get a little nervous on Zoom, so sorry if I get weird on camera.
It's okay.
So I'm Angela. Hi, everyone that doesn't know me, I guess. I'm from Iowa, and I guess my opinion is I didn't really know about it until like the chat and the Zoom meeting, so I wasn't really sure what he was being indicted for. So I don't really have a lot of information, but based on what you were saying, I think that it's a good thing that he is being indicted. I have been a victim of like crimes and stuff, and they tried to also silence me, so I'm glad that she is I guess I'm glad that she's able to get some sort of like justice in that. And that's all I have to say right now.
All right, thank you. Selena, do you want to introduce yourself and just like give us like a brief opinion about this situation with Trump being indicted?
Hi. I'm just here being nosy, Jonathan. You know me. But fuck Trump. I'm not a Trump fan at all. So that's my opinion about Trump.
All right.
Damn, everybody got quiet. Sorry.
Short and sweet.
I don't like Biden either, but I really don't like Trump. So
Yeah.
I think it's great he gets indicted. I don't see him getting convicted, but it'd be nice if he did, my opinion. So everybody's got their own opinions.
Right. Very true. Very true. Yeah, and we were. I was hoping to get some like alternative opinions on this, but yeah, I'm happy to hear anything that anyone has to say. So thank you. Let's see. Who looks like somebody else is connected. Okay, so we'll have Dora go last. Obi-Wan, do you want to give us an introduction and then give us like a brief opinion about Trump being indicted, if you can connect to us? All right, so it looks like he's having some connection issues. So David, go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a brief opinion about Trump being indicted today.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Dave Moon TV. I am your host, David Allen Moon. I am hailing out of the west coast of Canada. Some of the colonials call this place Powell River. I prefer to call it Quathet Territory, Qathet, is where I reside. I've been watching the news and watching the media sludge going around, and this indictment has been going on for quite some time. I'm just as critical of the liberal parties in Canada and the U.S. as I am in anywhere, including the conservatives. You guys call them the Republicans, but their ideology is the same. Quite basically, it's a political issue. Donald Trump thinks he's sort of like these blue men, the police. He believes in his own mind that he's above the law and he can get away with anything, and he almost can. The sick part is that once people are convicted, from my understanding in the United States, they're unable to vote. But this person, Donald Trump, is going to be able to still run for president. People are still going to vote for him, and even if he was indicted, prosecuted, convicted, and put in jail, he can still run for president in jail. Now, that is the most sickening thing I've ever heard of. It's far from equality if you have a conviction and you can't vote, yet Donald J. Trump can do all this nasty stuff, and he's not really getting away with it because he's going to get a slap in the hand. He's going to get into some trouble for using electoral funds to pay off, pay hush money off to somebody to give advantage to his own political gain. Like, this is it's not even a can of worms. It's like a warehouse of worms to open up, cans and cans of worms to open up. And we'll see where this comes, or where this ends up. But I'm telling you right now, it's his political Russian roulette. He thinks that he can get away with, not get away with, but do these things, face the law, and still run for president and still get elected. With whatever records he might incur in this indictment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm gonna have to unmute and mute myself every time because there's an echo. So, yeah, thanks for that. So last up we have Dora. If she's still here with us, can you introduce yourself and give us a brief opinion about the indictment today?
My name is Dora. I'm one of the hosts of some show, I guess. It's what it is. If you know it, you know it. If you know it, you love it. I think there's only 3 people like that. My pronouns are she, them, and terrorist. Apparently now. Yeah. So, anyways, this is what I think about the Trump indictment. Does it actually matter in the end, politically speaking, whether they indict him, try him, all this shit? No! Doesn't matter one lick a dick. Okay? Don't matter shit. What it does fucking matter, though, is this a way to radicalize a group of people and potentially turn them into a violent mob? Yes. Just like, let's take a look at, and not to digress into a completely different subject, let's take a look at the most recent school shooting. Was it a horrible thing? Yes. Can we all agree to that? Yes. Now, every other school shooting before this point in time has been predominantly white male Christian boys. You know what they do? They go, hey, but why did this kid do it? They don't give a fuck about that right now. And the fucked up part is the person said why. It's because they were sexually abused at that school. Those same teachers are still going and they went nuts. There's a lot of rhetoric around it, but that's the truth and reality of why they fucking did it. You know? Is it being used to radicalize a group of people to violence? Yes. Is it being used to stigmatize an entirely different group of people and turn them into the new target? All same old hats that we had for racism and women and all the other things throughout the course of the past. Is it the same song and dance? Yes. It's all smoke and mirrors, kids, and it's all designed to make you fight your neighbor. Heck, before we had a little bit of commentary where somebody was like, man, I don't trust people who follow this political figure. And we had to point out, nobody here follows any of them. It doesn't matter who does not. We're saying about that. What this is about is the government. That's who we should not trust. Doesn't matter if it's a Cheeto or a jackass who likes ice cream. They're all idiots, and I can prove it mathematically. Constitutionalism is a form of anarchy. If you study history, and left and right ain't what we got it. This is all smoke and mirrors, kids.
Sorry.
Kathy, it's your
I
turn.
should be muted.
Oh,
what is up, guys?
Oh, you're good. Dora was still talking, but Dora, do you want to let Obi go ahead real quick, or?
No, I'm not trying to go ahead. I was listening intently, and my child jumped at me.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe they got something to say.
Oh, they do.
Right. Well, since you're on the mic already, Obi, give us an introduction and tell us how you feel about Trump being indicted. We'd like to hear your opinion.
I'm just an old farm mechanic, and basically it's good. And it not only that, this paves a big route, because it's like, hey, this happens. We need to shut everybody down. So it's good to have Mr. Cheese himself. I just hope he doesn't get acquitted, basically, because the foot needs to be stomped by now. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I have no audio all of a sudden.
We can still hear you, Obi. We still hear you. You can keep going if there's anything else you want to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be great, right? If all that just took place. Because, just hurry it up. Because I heard they're taking a month off or something. It's just a trip.
The wheels of law are very slowly turning. They turn really slow up in Canada.
I guess we'll just go ahead and have it be an open discussion now, since everybody did the introductions. And if anybody wants to add on to anything that was said, or you guys have anything, feel free to interject. I want to hear what everyone has to say, and if you don't want to speak up, that's fine too. So I guess I'll start it with an icebreaker. Who would like to see Trump in prison, and does anybody disagree with that?
I would like to see Trump in prison.
Yeah.
Would be a good look for him.
I don't think he'll step a foot in prison.
I disagree. I don't want to see Trump in prison, because that is not the punishment for the crimes that the people who are currently in power are subject to, according to the letter of law. According to the letter of law, all of those people that we call our politicians by this point have directly violated the Constitution numerous times. This is tantamount in our law to treason. Treason is punishable by one and only one means: execution. You got a couple of different options. You want public firing squad, public hanging, or thanks to fucking Obama. I love you, Obamacare. The little small print nobody looked at. Guillotines have been put back on the menu.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
See, that's the thing of it. That's what I want to see. Fuck prison. I want to see his head on a pike.
And then it would be a huge statement.
Sleepy Joe right there sniffing next to him.
Yeah, it'd be one of those things like, so you really want to pay who off for what?
I think it's time that the people do literally what our Constitution said we should have done a while ago. Hello, Skywalker.
So we got a newbie here. Well, not a newbie, a returnee. James, intro?
Oh yeah, yep. See, James, you want to do an intro and give us like a brief opinion about Trump's indictment? Yeah, David's on it, but yeah.
Audio's off, James. Can't hear you.
Unmute your mic at the top. The top of the screen, unmute your mic.
I'm not pointing that my ear hurts. I'm pointing that I can't hear you.
All right, I guess we'll have to come back to him. So yeah. Anyways, how do you guys feel about Trump's like Twitter posts that were very much so him trying to incite people for the in my opinion, for the January 6th incident, like incite people to storm the Capitol to change the votes. Do you guys? I'm sure everyone watched that on TV or has some knowledge of that. How do you guys feel about that? The January 6th incident.
Were
Well,
these
we had.
tweets?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, were these recent tweets? Oh, okay.
Well, it illustrates his.
Skywalker, go ahead and leave the Zoom and then rejoin it. And when you rejoin, choose to join with Wi-Fi for your audio. That's what happened. You don't have any audio, which point everything I'm saying right now is completely pointless and not helping. Shit. Never mind.
All right, Jamie, you had something to say. Let's hear what Jamie has to say.
Well, it shows the reach of his power and just the extent people will go that drank the Kool-Aid. This is exactly what he wanted, and he got exactly what he wanted. He had that control over people. Like that's crazy. That's terrifying. The lengths that they will go for that man.
And the scary part is there's a version of Trumpers up in Canada that they attempted to do the Ottawa siege, and it was around February of last year. And quite basically, they were taking over our parliament, telling the Liberal leader up here to step down. Some of the extreme leaders, if you want to call them that, I don't know what they're leading, but they were threatening to have the liberal leader hung. And it's like it seems to be like a game plan that's used over and over and over in all these democratic countries. It happened in Brazil. There was a rise up because of the election results. So the dethroned king down in Brazil pulled the same sort of stuff on down there and told his little orc Cheeto troll chuds to, march onto their capital buildings in Brazil and attempted the same thing. I don't know, James. Like Dora said, opt out and then come back in afterwards. Like leave the discussion and then come back in. But back to Trump, like it seems to be the
He
same
can't
thing.
hear us, Dave. He can't hear us to be able
Oh,
to
he
get
can't even hear us talking to him. Got it.
Type it
Oh,
to him.
okay. Sign language? I don't know. Maybe somebody message him. But anyways, back to the Trump thing. Like Trump knows that he has control, but I don't think he understands that he doesn't have the control that he used to, because some of his supporters are in jail and they've committed some nasty crimes. So, it's here nor there. It's a 50-50 toss up whether there's going to be, riots on the street with Trump 2020 banners or not. I don't know. I've seen Trump flags up here too. It's a very dangerous situation, this political hate stuff.
You brought up something really interesting with the Trump supporters already incarcerated. What's going to happen when he gets incarcerated? If he has that type of control over people on the outside, what is he going to do from the inside? And what are his supporters going to do that's going to break down what's left of our crappy criminal justice system? I have a feeling things are going to go sideways real quick. If
I want to jump in real fast, if you don't mind. First off, he's never going to be he's never going to be convicted. That will never happen. Second off, just because there's some supporters locked up and they're being quiet right now, don't underestimate them. Do not sleep on them. These people will kill for that man. Strangers will kill for that man. My mother is one of these people, a huge Trump supporter, and it's amazing the power he has over these people. They're just sitting back waiting till 2024. They ain't gone nowhere. Don't let them think just because they're quiet. They're just reloading. That's what they're doing.
Well, they're quiet because some of them aren't allowed to talk to some of their other comrades right now, like up in Canada, for instance. The Evil Eight that they used in the Ottawa siege, none of them are allowed on social media anymore. You know why? Because they're spreading all this Trump-like hate and, inciting violence and creating national security issues up here in Canada. And that's exactly what these chuds and trolls are going to do down there. So you're right, Selena. Don't don't trust them. Don't sleep on them. Keep them all locked up as long as you can. Because if they're a danger to public safety, they don't need to be around. It doesn't matter how much Kool-Aid they've drank. It's, if they're a danger, they're a danger.
Is my mic
Are
live?
they going to come out?
James.
I don't know.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead and introduce yourself
Welcome,
and give us
bro.
your thoughts about Trump being indicted, and then join the discussion, please.
Sure. For those of you that don't know me, I recognize some familiar faces, but my name's James. Going by Skywalker tonight. I saw there was an Obi-Wan in here. But to the point, what was your question, Soup? I mean, all right, this again. All right, so I'm an activist, veteran. I've worked in security, and there's all kinds of things here that, like, I heard some of this stuff going on, and what you guys were saying as I was coming in. I've had a couple drinks, so I'm not totally focused for this. You're like join, so I'll jump in. My opinion on the whole thing is I'm staying out of it as an activist because I heard somebody say that these people are dangerous, and indeed, the mob mentality is dangerous. So I recommend if you do go out in pairs. Keep your cell phone ready. If you can go live, go live. If you can't, record it. Is the street journalist motto. You know, if you see something, say something, or we record it. Very strange times indeed. You know, I'm 51 now, and on the mend from being on the streets, homeless, and you know, every president that I can remember has said they want to help the homeless veterans. We shouldn't be homeless in the first place. America is a great country, but it was great before it was colonized, and that's a special shout out to Dave and all the other indigenous. You know, I stand in solidarity with all those oppressed that have been oppressed through the ages. And I saw something the other day that called for an attack on white people by somebody, and it was an older interview, and it was a national televised live newscast. Divide and conquer, create hatred. This is what their game is. And when I say they, I don't mean Trump supporters. I mean the elitists, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the people that own the banks, the people that are manipulating and controlling our children. They're poisoning our waters. They're poisoning our air. I mean, I could go in from this Trump thing. I can go into a whole sidestep for chemtrails, HARP. I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of these weapons. Direct energy weapons, lasers. I mean, we can even jump onto the extraterrestrials theory because the government knows things that you don't. And the more they keep us arguing, divided, it'd be easier to conquer us, and we won't know the better for what the fuck's what. As far as Trump goes, I think he's a complete moron. I never liked the guy. I didn't like his shows. But he is, unfortunately, he's a very smart man, and smart people surround themselves with smarter people, which is a lesson hard learned for me personally. But I think that for him to be indicted and actually go to jail would be like any one of us to walk on the moon. It's not going to happen. He has too much money, too much power. I mean, he's not Martha Stewart. He's the ex-president of the United States. So I don't know if that's kind of my 2 cents. I tried to throw some things in there. If anybody has any direct questions or wants to contact me on Facebook, you know how we can talk after this show. But Soup, thanks for having the show and thanks for inviting me. And that's about it for now. Like,
yeah, not a problem, you guys. It's been a long. Yeah, we haven't done this in a long time. We kind of stepped back for a while. Well, I did. But yeah, it's exciting to do another podcast again. There's so much when it comes to Trump. There's so much we could talk about, honestly. Like it could just be like a never-ending conversation. Like the Hollywood Access incident where he was recorded before he was elected, talking about, you know, the stuff in the locker room that was really disturbing. At that point, I was like shocked that he even became president, because I was like, okay, this is the moment where he's done for it. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, I'll grab women by the, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, once that was aired out, I was like, he's
I
done.
remember that
He
incident.
became the president anyway. Yeah.
Screw that incident. Let's talk about something even a little bit crazier than that came out of his own mouth. The admission to a crime that has no statute of limitations, that is an absolute felony, where he openly admitted to participant in he's involving children. Remember when he talked about he would walk into the fucking dressing rooms at Miss Teen USA? Miss Teen USA, girls 13 years old. And we walk.
Yep.
Beautiful women around naked everywhere, and they couldn't say anything because I own the place. What are they gonna do? So I just walk in and I watch them, and it's beautiful.
Freak
Hey,
Uncle creepy
Trumpers,
shit,
those of
man.
you who are big Trumpers, I want to say one thing. Y'all on it about the Epstein files, right? Let's get them all. Let's round them up. Let's do this, that, and the other. Guess who's on that fucking list, asshats? Like 13 times.
Not only is he on the list, but
Don't call me an asshat.
his last two girls is from him. Like his wife and his ex-wife all came from knowing. That's how he met them. It's through him. So like his stolen from other country wives came from Epstein. Isn't that a trip? No, and you never hear anyone say that shit, but you can look it up and it's real.
Asshat, if you're one of the people who's pro-Trump and pro-round up all the Epstein people simultaneously without putting two together. You're not one of the. You're not the asshat here. You're good. At least I hope you're not the asshat here. It would fuck you up if you got problems.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like his last two wives came from Epstein. Epstein only has one business he's ever done, and that's to take children and women and sell them to other people. So anyone that's like, oh, I was only doing business, like that fool only had one business.
No, I think he had like a money laundering front for involving like some kind of stock trade or some shit, if memory serves. That was his other business. But like I said, money laundering.
Would it honestly surprise anybody if Trump was selling children? I mean, would that really surprise anyone? It wouldn't me.
Oh, he's not selling, honey.
Away with anything.
I mean, you know, there is a big industry for children sex trafficking and stuff. And there's a reason these people don't get caught. I mean, come on, everybody loves kids, but they can't catch sex traffickers.
Well, that's like saying the border's closed for drug trafficking and stuff. That the America's the greatest country on earth because we've got the coolest military that can stop airplanes from hitting trade centers. 12 minutes to scramble a jet, and we got planes flying around. I'm still on the 9/11 thing. Our presidents in our country, the children that are being abused. There's so many hidden agendas that are going on. It's really scary. And like you've seen George Bush, the Bushes, with plane full of kids. There's photographs of it. I mean, what are these people really doing?
Hunger Game was a movie, but there's a lot of truth behind that movie. Just saying.
What
do you think all these people in office what do they do for fun? They ain't taking vacations to the Caribbean and on cruises. And they, I don't know. I just think in a different light. People are sick. There's some twisted minds out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a show called Wrecked, and they end up going on an island of like elitists, and they hunted people. Like that's what they did on that island. And then Epstein had two islands, right? And one has like cages on it, and the other one has that weird building. And you're like, what were the cages for? But you don't hear about the second island either, ever.
There's millions of kids go missing every year in this country, millions, and they just disappear. Where are they going?
What's strange is this is so dystopian, so surreal compared to the TV shows that we watch and stuff. It's really not that strange to think that it's actually happening in reality and the people are getting ideas for these TV shows by what's really going on in real life. I mean, at this point, I don't know what's reality anymore. Is it a reality show or are they faking it?
I remember when I was a little girl watching shows and stuff would happen and be like, oh, that would never happen, not in my lifetime, whatever. And stuff I watched as a little girl is happening today that I said, 30 years ago, that will never happen or whatever. So, I think there's some part of reality when you say, where are they getting these ideas from TV shows? Where are they, and a seed is planted anyway. Like I said, there's people with really sick, corrupt minds with lots of money. And they see that and think, that's a good idea. Why don't, I mean, the world is so big. People don't understand. We're right here on Earth, or not Earth, but right here in the United States. But there's so many islands out there that nobody's been to. And, I mean, I have a friend of mine that's very wealthy, and he took me to an island I didn't even know existed, and it just opened my eyes and my mind. We're so, our minds are so small from what we see and stuff, but there's a whole world out there we don't see.
If I might broach on that, one of the things that I see going on here in society is there's a lot of people, like those of us that we participated in our groups. We're aware of what's going on, and we may differ on our opinions about one thing or another, maybe 9/11 inside job, terrorist attack, whatever. But the concept that I see going around is keep your head down, keep it in the sand, mind your own business. And, whatever's going on out there in the world, there's nothing you can do about it. And it doesn't affect me or you or them, whatever. And so just keep on your path, take care of you. Don't worry about it. And if it comes across the news, it's, oh my gosh, that's so sad. There were children that were raped and murdered, or, whatever the fuck. And it's like, I don't understand how some people can take that stance of, it's none of my business, or it's not in my neighborhood, so it doesn't matter to me. But, then you've got the NIMBYs where if you got a homeless person in the back alley, people are starting to call the cops and stuff immediately because they're probably on drugs and things like that. So, I've lived on both ends of the scale where having a job and housed, and also being a drug addict, alcoholic in the alleyways as a homeless veteran, just trying to make it from here to tomorrow. And nobody cared. Not even the cops. They'd come by and they'd see me getting drunk and they'd just leave me alone, because as long as you ain't a problem, it don't matter. But I think that what we have going on here with, the reason I decided to participate tonight is we do have a problem, and it starts at the top, the highest levels, from the president down, corporations and stuff. There's a whole cabal of people that are public enemy number one, and it's not those of us that are shouting for reform or even a revolution. The evil runs very deep, and like I said, it starts at the top.
Yeah, and the part that I'm really concerned about being in Canada is I see the parodies, and the political ideology is basically the same up here. The Conservatives basically follow the same sort of ideology that Donald Trump follows, and I'm not sure if it's socially acceptable by these supporters about all this weird shit going on. It's not a big deal. Donald Trump was just having fun, or like somebody was saying earlier, oh, they're just conducting business or whatever, right? Like I'm not saying that the Republicans and conservatives are kind of strange, but I mean, I'll say it, they are. So are the liberals, of course. I'll pick on them later, but right now we have a Republican getting indicted for some weird shit. We're talking about some other weird stuff that we don't even know what's going on worldwide in regards to children and people's safety. We're talking about wealthy people, flexing and seeing what, how far they can push those limits of what their own vices are. And, that's my concern is, is this politically, socially acceptable what Epstein and Trump and rich people are doing, and what are they doing behind closed doors, and where? Like, it just really freaks me out, man. I'm literally like I've got goosebumps just talking about it, thinking of the possibilities of the human suffering, which I'm completely against. And it concerns me, man. Children, BIPOC people that aren't BIPOC. they're getting affected by this one way or another, and it's political ideologies and rhetoric that is, spoken about from the top that we need to talk about. It's what you say can and will be used against you, especially when you're a political leader. Donald Trump and any other politician, anybody that works for a government in Canada, in the US, or anywhere around the world should be held accountable. I'll end it at that.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's some comments in the chat. Natalie said he'll work it from the inside like Al Capone did. LOL, that's a big if he ever is put behind bars. And then Chad said DeSantis 2024. So I was just wanting to read his comments out loud. Well, yeah, we kind of went down the rabbit hole with that whole Epstein incident. I don't know. I think we can all agree that Epstein didn't kill himself. That's the one thing I think we can all agree on.
Dude, Epstein is about as self-hating as our Christmas decorations.
Right.
Somebody wanted him dead.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted him dead. And from what little bit of sneak peek we've gotten at that fucking black book, I can tell you for good reason. Like, everybody's focusing on the fucking Clintons. Well, yeah, sure, they got plenty of reason, and me's. They're not the only ones. Hell, guess who's on that list? One of the directors of the Bureau of fucking Prisons.
Did you guys hear?
Director on the Epstein list, who has the easiest means to get rid of Epstein when he's in prison? Why, the person in charge of the entire nation's federal prison system. Who's better positioned? No one. You want to know who killed him? I don't know who called it. I don't know who personally put the fucking hit out, but I can tell you that man was involved in making it happen.
Did you guys get a chance to read Trump's statement? By the way, he made a public statement like shortly after the indictment took place, and I think I want to go ahead and read that to you guys real quick. So he
just
said,
keeps repeating himself.
You guys want to hear this?
Oh yeah.
All right. This is statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. From the time I came down from the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your President of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember it just like I do. Russia, the Mueller hoax, Ukraine.
I love the accent.
Perfect.
2, the illegal and
Start over.
unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid. And now this. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign, weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president. Has never happened before ever. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. Rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it, so our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, and then we will defeat Joe Biden. We are going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. Okay. So he blamed George Soros, which George Soros is apparently like the Antichrist. A lot of people on the far right. But George Soros is, I don't know, he's really not a bad guy if you look into him. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that statement?
Absolutely deflecting. Absolute deflections everywhere, repeating himself. And yeah, just it's like talking about a crime going on down the street that he can't prove when he's been caught red-handed. But look at all this going on over here. He's not taking any accountability. He refuses to take accountability. And all his little soldiers are going to be looking up to him, watching how he acts and reacts.
I just find this entire thing absolutely amusing to watch at this point. And can we all agree that it has become very apparent that it is impossible to read anything that man says without somehow slipping into his accent? Because we all do it. Even his own fucking people do it. Can't help but mock the man.
It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, the accent was pretty great. But yeah, I kind of agree. It's the statement was just kind of funny to me. Yeah, he's just kind of throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks with what people. And yeah, I just felt it was kind of amusing and sad.
Everything he said, we heard it like before. You guys all can agree on that. I'm certain that almost everything in that statement, he said it before.
There's one thing that I point out with the whole Soros thing. Like everything that we end up hearing has a little bit of truth hidden in it. And one of the things that I'd like to point to is that the statement of all of us Antifa, all of us blah 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 blah, we're all on Soros's payroll. No, the fuck we aren't. There are specifically three individuals who are, though, and they are the self-appointed and named leaders of a particular movement who usurped the names of many a person who was killed by the government in order to fund themselves, never giving any of this money to the people whose families, are surviving. And there was a point in time where they bought a grand total at this point of 9 $3 million tour buses branded with the movement name. I'm not going to name the movement. People can research and figure it out themselves. Two of the members are, by their own words, trained Marxists, and the third one, who's supposed to be the counterbalance, is a Stalin-Leninist. All right, like this was their whole thing. They talk about it very openly. They talk about the fact that the entire movement has nothing to do with justice for the people who have died and the people who are going to die in the future. It has everything to do with pushing of their political agenda and their politics. This is fact. They themselves admitted as much, and they themselves are actually, by paperwork, can trace their names through tax documentation under the direct payroll of one of Soros's personally owned subsidiary companies. That's a fact. That's reality. What the rest of the movement is exactly the same thing as what Occupy was. We started off as what it was supposed to be, and by the end of it, well, it evolved into its own creature. It was never what the agenda was at the beginning. It ended up becoming its own thing. And that's what happened with that movement. But the fact remains that, yes, in fact, 3 people were on that payroll. And the thing is you get these guys, they take these fucking things, these QAnon things that are all based in a slight bit of fact actual, and then it gets spun into some crazy shit, just as propaganda has a tendency to do, where by the time you get the story we're given, there's so little of the truth there that you almost don't see it unless you dig, and I mean dig, to find it. And that's the easiest way to bury the truth. Nobody wants to dig into a pile of bullshit. I mean, shit, how many people thought cool. The whole Epstein thing was bullshit for the longest fucking time? Oh, that's just a QAnon conspiracy. No, turned out it was real. Pizzagate, one of my personal favorites. Pizzagate was debunked by a major news network. And they said that the reason why they were able to debunk it was because, very simplistically, the pizza joint doesn't have a basement for them to be able to sell kids out of. You know what the first place they ever mentioned a basement in the entire conspiracy was when it was on national news and them saying, guess what? We debunked it. There is no basement. That was the first mention of a basement. But everybody bought it and ran, and it got buried. That's the thing. How many people have died in the name of protecting children? Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, all of these people, like major stars that were blowing whistles on what was really going on. They got buried fast because the last thing the elite need is for the fucking curtain to be drawn back and then to see the wizard sitting there with an altar boy. Because as soon as that happens, they don't care what your politics are, unless you're a fucking freakazoid, you're going to turn on that politician, aren't you? You're going to turn on that CEO. We're going to drag them to the streets, aren't we? Because screw with our fucking kids.
How do you guys feel about Steve Bannon being charged with money laundering and conspiracy? If you guys don't know who Steve Bannon is, he was the CEO for Trump's campaign. He was charged with with money laundering and conspiracy when it came to raising money for Trump's wall through GoFundMe. I don't know if you guys know about that situation. So a lot of people in Trump's cabinet have been arrested or face charges as well. So it's just a long time coming, it seems like.
Well,
definitely a trend.
That's the thing. What surprises me about it is not that it's happened, is not that they did it, but more rather that they're being brought to charges for it. Because the same thing happens on both sides of the fence and everybody knows it. They're right about one thing. Trump did say something that is very true. Them going after him is 100% political. Because if it was about justice, they'd be arresting themselves too.
Okay, so why do you say that? Why do you say what?
A little bit of both. Like it's a political, like his opposition is going to use it. They're going to juice this and they're going to chop it up and repeat it and air the hell out of it as much as they can to drag this man through the mud. But at the same time, if this is a legal court proceeding and this person had broken the law, then there's justice that has to be conducted.
Well, herein lies the thing. You're right. That is a fact. But here's the kicker. Let's take a look at, Trump's got all of this fucking corruption and shit in his campaigns, and there's plenty of evidence to prove it. Well, let's go ahead and look at the opposition, though. How much evidence exists of the Biden family's corruption and both business and political involvements in places that they should not be? More than that. Just in general, take any given politician, and I'm pretty sure you could find some dirt on them where they're committing crimes left and right. And doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. What you got to look at, though, is which ones are getting gone after for it and what's the narrative that's being pushed. Right now, seems that predominantly only the right wing is being targeted with this shit. And it's only the right wing that's being, brought up. A great example being the confidential classified documents. Trump has these documents. Oh no, we go berserk. Lo and behold, Biden also has these documents. Nobody gives a shit. Lo and behold, Al Gore still had classified documents. Nobody gave a shit. Mike Pence had documents. We gave a shit. The difference between the two fucking two different sides there, when it's on one side, nobody cares. When it's on the other side, everybody cares, because currently, who's in power? Whoever's in power is not going to be scrutinized the same way. When Trump was in power, yeah, there was a lot of people saying, hey, look at this guy, but nobody actually fucking dug into it, did they? No, they were too busy going after the Clintons, who was part of what party? The blue, right? So when the red's in power, we'll go after the blue. When blue's in power, we'll go after the red, but we won't go after whoever's in power. And it's all part of a song and dance, because in the end, none of them are actually being gone after. In the end, none of them actually face time, do they? And if they do, it's cushy. That's the whole thing of it. It's double standard play. But again, as always, smoke and mirrors for our sake, to keep us divided. Because as for which particular jackass we prefer, nobody's going to be focusing on why are we following these jackasses in the first place. Aren't they fucking us over regularly?
They're both jackasses. There's an uncle of mine named Bill Wilson up here who calls the left and the right up here Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Before Biden got into office, he was talking about all this shit, which is bullshit. We're picking on Trump. Let's pick on the left liberals as well. They were talking about all this shit about bringing housing up to code and running water and rights to indigenous people. Nothing has been done. Nothing has been done up here in Canada either by the Liberal government. So let's not just pick on the conservative Republicans. Let me get this, straight and figured out with you guys and make it clear to you that I don't just pick on one. I'll pick on both. And if you haven't noticed, nothing has been done for Indigenous people in North America or around the world, with these governments and these political leaders making promises to BIPOC and Indigenous people. And I don't see any progress. So, Joe Biden, I call you a liar while you're smoking the peace pipe.
The way I see it, sure, you could say, fuck Joe Biden. Sure, you could say, fuck Donald Trump. You could say, fuck this side, that side, or the other side. But in the end, really what we should all be saying is, fuck the government. Fuck the elite. Fuck the CEOs. You know what? Fuck Greta Thunberg for that fucking matter. Who the fuck is that bitch? Look into her fucking family. Look into what they're connected with. They stand to make a lot of money if people follow what she says. It ain't about the environment. It's all about the greenbacks. And we're the
same bird, different wings. I said same bird, different wings. Our whole government's.
Oh yeah.
The only interest I got in that turkey is eating it.
We got this Angela.
But you can definitely eat the rich.
Does Angela or Selena do you guys have anything else to say? We might wrap it up soon, but there are newest speakers. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to this.
Only thing I would add is he is definitely correct. The government is not for us. Anybody that thinks they are is excuse my French, a damn fool.
Right.
Go to
And
any Indian
much
reservation.
respect to the gentleman who was talking earlier about being a veteran. That's number one. Our country there should not be not one single homeless veteran. They fought for us to have the freedom of speech with the things that we have now, and they are just forgot about. They're left behind. They're forgot about. They should be honored more than our damn president, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right, James. Nobody in the veteran corps, from any generation should ever be homeless. They should always be taken care of. And like I
They
said,
shouldn't have to want or need for
reservation.
anything. They put their time into our country.
And go to any Indian reservation, you'll see what type of federal treatment is handed out to people and how much the government doesn't care.
No.
And we're going to make them care, right, James?
Do the best we can. United we stand, divided we fall.
Just remember, it's the people who founded this government that said the government should fear its people, not the other way around. They literally came up with a rule that says you got to have guns. And when somebody, there's a lot of stuff where people are like, well, what do they mean? We don't need this for hunting. George Washington said it perfectly. You are to have the same weapons that your military has because you should never let them outarm you. And to the point of, well, does that mean everybody should have a nuke? Yes, everybody should have a nuke because the government has one. The government should not have one. They shouldn't have. They do. Yes, you bet your sweet ass by the letter of the law of this country.
I don't think everyone should have a nuke. Sorry, I have to disagree with you on that one, Dora.
I'm going to go with that too.
Washington himself said it, man.
Yeah, there's certain people I wouldn't want to have the finger on the button. I have to disagree there.
But the thing is,
who shouldn't have a fucking nuke? The government. What George Washington's fucking statement was not, certain weapons should not be had. It was, if your government has it, you need to have it too, so that you have a counterbalance, so that your government doesn't outarm you. The second that the government decided to take it nuclear, everybody by letter of law, letter of law, and by the very explanation given by the people who wrote that law, should be allowed to have these things. Now, should people have a nuke? No one should have a fucking nuke on the planet, period.
Nobody.
But if a government has it, then
yeah, I agree with you, Dora, to a certain extent. Nukes are something that are a little above and beyond. But, our government did say, our forefathers preached that when our government becomes tyrannical and the laws become so voluminous that the common person can't disseminate them, that it is our duty, not our right, but our duty to overthrow said old guard and is still a new guard.
It's upon the principles.
As far as nuclear weapons go, there's things like tactical nukes, which are much smaller and won't destroy a whole city, but they will certainly bring down a whole building, or 8 square blocks. But nukes are bad. Love is good. And I love this show, and I appreciate participating in every one of you here.
We're not talking about whether or not we should possess those weapons. Or I think the whole point is that we have to keep equal arms with our government, so that the point of our government fears us, not the other way around. If the government doesn't want fucking psychos running around with a fucking nuke, then the government should be fucking smart enough to not fucking have them. Because if they have them, we have, and I will say, by the letter of law, by the actual letter of law, we have the right to them. And this is not an argumentative point to be had. The people who wrote the laws felt the need to actually clarify what they meant in conversations outside of the letter itself. Article 6, paragraph 2 of the core Constitution, before any amendments were ever written, the Constitution and all undersigned treaties are the supreme law of the land. Any law, be it federal, state, or otherwise, that is contrary is notwithstanding. Couple that with the Second Amendment. The definition of the words used, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. The word infringed means ruled, regulated, or restricted in any form. So literally, by the letter of the supreme law that overrules any other laws we write in this nation, by its own letter, there are no rules regarding what kind of a weapon you can fucking have. There are zero rules behind it. And by the people who wrote those rules, you are to have up to and including, if not better than, what your government and military possesses, because you need to outgun them in case they ever reach a point where they overrun us like they have. If we ever reach that point where we have to overthrow our government and reestablish it based on the principles, as the fucking government itself said to do in its founding, we have to be able to match arms with our government, do we not?
I feel like we're all right. So I feel like we're getting a little off topic here, but yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to say anything else to add on to that, but
Yeah, I have something quick to add.
Okay.
Quite basically, all I can say to end the night here is I'm glad that there's lockout codes for a lot of different things, because in case the wrong person gets a hold of a tank, for instance, you know, there's a lot of codes and stuff that you have to unlock to use the thing in a death-defying way. And I'm glad that people are going to see the light and not vote people in like Donald Trump in the future, and really make sure that whoever has the finger on whatever button, or I mean, I'll have to agree with Dora. The right to bear arms is a right, but where do you draw that line, and who gets the codes? That's where I'm getting this. Like, if the wrong person gets those codes, like we're in deep doo-doo. And yeah, right now the Canadian Armed Forces and the United States have much more armory than any of the people do.
Well, that's the thing about a right. There is no line for a right. A right is a right, period. It's inalienable and it has no limitation outside of its own wording. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that is its own right. You have every right, whatever it is that gets your giggle, you have the right to it. Now, if your giggle happens to come from, brutalizing a person, there's an entirely different category of rules regarding that get addressed. You don't have the right to freedom from consequences. You do have the right to pursue your happiness, though. And that's where people don't understand a lot of contents. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed, is what it is. Right now, what we're seeing is these actions, these smokescreens, be them radicalization of a mass shooting or the radicalization of criminal activities of a former president. None of it really ultimately matters in the long run, because all of it is designed to push the same concept narrative. The same thing with the whole TikTok thing. If you actually read the letter of the ban on TikTok, what it actually says, it's designed to make it so that you can't, they put a fucking app on your fucking shit that you can't say no to. And if you get rid of it, you're committing a federal offense. And that app monitors your fucking phone to make sure that you're not looking at something the government doesn't like. That is what the fucking ban on TikTok bill actually reads if you look at it. And that's the thing about it, is they're fucking legalizing us into a position where we cannot defend ourselves. We are on the doorstep of Orwellian hell, and we are at a point where we have two choices. We can go quietly into the fucking night, or we can stand the fuck up and burn the bitch to the fucking ground, start from scratch. We don't have any other fucking choice. That's where we're at this fucking point. And the only way we're going to accomplish the latter is if we stop arguing with each other over fucking which idiot is the right one to be in office. Who fucking cares? None of them are right.
All right. Well, that's a good closing statement.
That's what I said.
I think we should end that. What's that?
I agree with all that shit too myself, actually.
And you know what? Get rid of fucking nukes. That way I don't have the right to go out and get one. You don't want me to have one, you need to get rid of yours.
Like no
That's a
W.
valid argument.
That's fair, right?
Well, guys.
Anyways, where's the after party, you guys? I'm out of here.
It's at
later.
Dave Moon TV's house, somewhere in Canada. If you guys want to be there, make sure you bring your own beer.
Yeah.
And make sure you wear a coat 'cause it's cold, eh?
Make sure you fuel up the helicopter because you got to get back after too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And next week we're going to be partying in the desert.
Do it.
Bring your own skinwalker.
Thanks for having me, you guys. You have a
All
great
right.
evening.
Thanks. You too. All right. Bye, guys.
Cheers.